Hey, hey. It is H&D Abroad. I am D, and y'all, we are in the place talking about house sitting. It is house sitter season. I guarantee you, if you have not heard of house sitting, you will be sold by myself, who is currently on a house sit, and all of my Exodus Summit sisters who are also on a house sit. We are here to, as they say, we're going to share the good and all the tea with you today. So H&D Abroad is all about considering moving abroad, a plan A for a lifestyle that embraces healthy living, but also creating generational wealth. You can't give wealth if you don't get it. And one strategy my husband and I are using is house sitting to decrease our travel cost. Um, we're going to talk about what is house sitting and how to do it. Most of us, if not all of us, are using at least trusted house sitters. So, without delay, I'm going to bring in, yes, all right, technology is collaborating with us. I want to say thank you to the folk that have joined us live. Please make sure during today's discussion, we want your questions. We can talk. Yes, ladies, we can talk. But we really want to answer the questions that you have about how to get free accommodations by providing a service like pet sitting, house sitting, gardening, um, so that others can travel and we can have that financial advantage of not having accommodations costs, which for a lot of us is probably the most expensive. It's more expensive
Absolutely.
than my travel cost. So why don't we go ahead and start? I'm going to start with Diamond, then Malika, Ozzy, Yolanda, and Felicia. So let's go in that order.
All right. Well, thank you so much for putting this together, Dee. Appreciate it. I appreciate the invitation. I am Diamond Crystal, also known as the Gallivanting Grandma, because that's what I do. I gallivant the world. I am a grandma, and I am currently on sits throughout the state of Washington, particularly in Seattle, with my 7-year-old granddaughter, and
I
we are
love
enjoying
that.
summer vacation. I have been house sitting now full time for 2 years. And like you, I am a global nomad, no rent, no mortgage, completely untethered. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I love that so much. Hey, y'all. And hey, Dee, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited about this chat tonight. I'm Malika. On Beyonce's internet, I'm known as Money Coach Malika. And on my channel, I talk all things money. I help Black women learn to invest with ease so they can achieve financial freedom and live whatever you love. I achieved financial freedom and retired from my career last October. So I've been kind of bumping around the world since then. Haven't found any one country I love yet. But once I discovered pet sitting, house sitting, it was a game changer. I was like, I don't need to settle down and sign a lease for an apartment. So, yes, I am loving this travel hack, saving lots of money, and I look forward to having this chat with you all and answering questions.
Excellent.
Awesome. Hey everyone. I'm Ozzy at I've never pronounced it. It's like amazing with two eyes with a one at the end on YouTube, or just amazing with two eyes on Instagram as well as TikTok. And I actually quit my full-time job a little over a year ago. So I've been living as a digital nomad since the beginning of the year. Oh, thanks, Malik. And travel, pet sitting. I just use a lot of different strategies. I really care about social impact and financial freedom. So I talk a lot about that on my channel. And actually, today, I realized today is my 100th day of not paying rent, thanks to trusted house sitters. Yeah, I was like, let me just calculate it out. And I actually just posted a video today about the top 10 destinations. I like did all the digging into the data and really got a sense of where these top destinations are. So definitely check that out on my channel. I'm gonna drop the link in, shameless self-promotion. And so excited to be here with all of you. I've seen D a lot in the live stream game and a lot of different, D is extremely active. I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity. So thank you so much for the invite. Excited to talk to y'all and answer questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Glad to have you guys. Yolanda?
Hi there, my name is Yolanda and I am locating cozy. And I thought I was going to be taking my job on the road with me back in October when I decided not to pay rent anymore. And then some things happened and I left the job and I actually took 6 months. Just I wasn't working. It was hard for me not to be working, but I just started a new contract job that pays a lot more, and I'm not managing, and I'm saving all my money because I'm not paying rent. I gave up my apartment. I got rid of everything. Have a little small storage, and I just share the experience. I don't know. I spent 2 months in Spain. Went to Portugal. Did my first pet sit in another country. I did it in Morocco. Um, and it's just been a game changer. I didn't know. You don't know until you know, and now I know. So I'm just gonna enjoy the rest of this. Right now, I'm enjoying this beautiful view in Oceanside, San Diego, California, on a pet sit. It's just a game changer, and you can find me on YouTube and Instagram, locating cozy.
Hello, everyone. And Dee, thank you also for inviting me to your channel to talk with everyone about, I think, the latest and greatest travel hack, especially for Black women. Before Stephanie Perry, I don't think I really took house sitting seriously, and I looked at every single one of her videos, and I just went for it. I didn't hesitate. I'm like, okay, everybody else is doing it. I'm going to do it. So here I am. My channel is In My Travels. I am a serial expat and a seasoned veteran of travel. I've lived abroad, studied abroad, worked abroad for many years, and I've been back in America for about 3 years now. I was in China before this, and I am currently on a house sit, like all of us right in this room on this live. And this house sit, I was telling Yolanda before we started, this is a game changer for me. This is one of the most beautiful house sits. I am on 40 acres of beautiful, beautiful land, private, quiet, with the most spectacular dogs. They are so sweet and so loving and very protective of me. And I'm getting a lot done. I just co-founded my first business, Look See Travels, another shameless plug for my company. And we specialize in tours to Europe and Asia. So if you want to travel with us, small groups, lookseetravels.com, that's us. And I'm so excited to speak with everyone and to also learn from my wonderful women in this room. And thank you very much.
Absolutely. So one of the criteria that I used to select who was in the room was if you're currently on a house sit, because I want you to be in the space saying what is really relevant to you. So outside my window, as most of you guys know, I'm in Colorado. I am looking at Pikes Peak. If I look to my left, I'm looking at Garden of the Gods. So beautiful jetting orange rock. And I hike the trail and I have the soreness to prove it just about every day. I am on a month house sit, which I never thought would be my first house sit. So I think I'm probably the newest person in the group. So this is my first house sit. I don't know who has house sit more than a year.
I have not I have not done a year continuously, but my very first international house sit, when I decided this is what I was going to do, was 5.5 months in Mexico. Um,
Girl.
so yeah, so my employer and I parted ways after what I called a wellness sabbatical, which turned into a new lifestyle.
Mhm.
And at that point, I asked the universe, what is it that I'm going to be doing? How do I support myself? And it responded with a 5.5 month house sit in Mexico. So I had that time to figure it out, continue to woo-saw, continue to empower myself, and the rest is history. I've been going ever since.
Okay, so that's one thing let's see. So I think I didn't qualify my question. So I was talking about if you've been on Trusted House Sitters and you've been accepting house sits, has anyone been accepting house sits for at least a year's time, whether it's multiple house sits or one house sit? But it sounds like Diamond has anyone done anything longer than 5 months?
No, she got me
Okay,
beat.
so
Okay.
5 months. I was like, whoa, 1 month. And I'm doing this while I'm working my regular job because I can work remote. So I'm not taking total advantage, but I was just like, can I do this? My manager said yes. So we're doing it. And as long as I can complete my responsibilities, they are good with wherever I am in the US. So that is the breakthrough that I feel like I am seeing um, with a longer house sit. It feels like once you lock it, it's locked, and you can move on to do other things. What's the shortest house sit that you guys have done? Two
I did a
days?
one day. I did a 24 hours.
I think 3 days or something like that. That's about it.
My shortest was 5 days.
Yeah, mine was 2 days, and I later regretted it because then I had to fit house sits around it, and it was really hard to navigate around 2 tiny days.
The thing was that 1 day house sit that I did do, that was the one where I actually made the most mistakes. I made mistakes on that one. And the reason I had accepted that 1 day house sit is because they wanted me to come back in 2 months and do a 3 week house sit. So I was like, well, I'll just go ahead and do it so I can get the lay of the land. That's the one that was the high rise in Dallas. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Mhm.
But I only accepted it just because I knew that they wanted me to still come back in 2 months, right after I got back from Spain, to do like a 3 week pet sit. But I made a couple of mistakes because it was very rushed. So yeah,
Mhm.
they were very graceful though. Yeah.
And D, I was intentional about choosing a short house sit because it was my very first one.
Mhm.
I love the idea of being able to have free accommodations, but I didn't know if I was cut out for house sitting, to be honest. I am not a pet person, although I owned the dog for 16 years, but my dog was like my baby, and I didn't like other dogs. I just liked my dog. So
Mm-hmm.
entering this house sitting world, I wanted to take it very, very slowly, and I only wanted to sit with homes that either didn't have a pet or had a pet that reminded me of my own. So only very small dogs. So I'm very, very particular about what I apply for, and I'm intentionally taking it very slowly so I can ease into it to make sure it's something I really want to do.
That is okay. You all have brought up a couple of things. I'm flashing this one that shows y'all, we don't have to be retired. You can be at different levels of
Yes.
entering a lifestyle where it fits with where you want to be and what you want to be doing. It's Diamond, well, your whole page is about how the universe will open up for you once you begin to step forward. So y'all, please get in the description and grab these folks Instagram and social media, because they are not only talking about house sitting and the beautiful places that they are, but they're also talking about you don't always have to have your most ideal. So my ideal was no pets. Let me tell you. Okay. I have pet trauma. We just lost a pet about a year and a half ago. She was she was with my sister and brother-in-law, but pretty much our whole family was around her whole 16 years, and we kept her the last 4. And so I wasn't sure if I wanted to, pet equals baby.
Yeah.
Do I want
Yeah.
another baby?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a lot of
And so I
responsibility.
chose a house
It
sit that was gardening. Now Diamond has confronted me on my gardening.
Don't call me out like that, Dee. I just like to say, to thine own self be true. When you're looking at
Absolutely.
it can't be just about location. It has to be about being true to the responsibilities,
Yep.
which ultimately makes you true to your 5-star review, which is paramount to success, right? So you
Right.
see something that you really are not capable or willing to do, and then you sacrifice that 5 stars. And who wants to do that? Just pick
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I want to make sure we get to 5 stars because that is for house sitters, that is the goal, is 5 stars, especially your first. So
Yeah.
y'all,
Yeah.
I'm trying not to do the most, but I'm doing the most over here. Cutting grass, watering lawns, maybe
Oh
I'm doing it
no.
all.
And to be honest, that's another reason why I chose short house sits, because I wanted those 5-star reviews. Now I have 2 5-star reviews.
So we'll talk about the meaning of 5-star reviews and how pivotal that is. But I definitely wanted to make sure that people understand Trusted House Sitters is not the only house sitting platform out there. It's the one that we're using. It's the one we were introduced to for a lot of us the first time. But you have the ability to choose what kind no pets. So I literally started searching for no pet sits. I was like, okay, I can keep a house because I've always kept a house. I'm a wife. That's what I do. And that's what I felt comfortable with. But let's see. So it sounds like we've had, let's see. So raise your hand if you've had a dog sit, cat sit. Okay. Fish sit, bird sit.
No.
Okay. Horses, y'all, these are all the options you can choose on there. How about birds?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it was when it started getting out there, I was like, I don't know. That's too far outside of my knowledge. But that's what you can do when I talk about setting up your notifications. I did a couple of posts about that. But let's see. So when you all are making a decision about your house sits, let's see. So Felicia, what's your main criteria? So you've got a couple of different options. You've got dates, you've got location, you've got, and then you also have, what do you want to sit? A house or pets. So what for you is what's your guiding or your primary criteria?
Right now, I've changed a little bit. I've had the opportunity and blessing to sit in some very beautiful houses. I mean, houses that have, just sort of traditional design, but then you get inside the house and the owner has changed everything. It is absolutely stunning. There was one that was in the countryside. It was a young couple. They were going to spend, I believe, 10 days in London. And they had this little dog. And I usually, this was my first small dog ever interacting with, in a sit. This beautiful little Pomeranian. And I thought the dog was going to be yippy, but it wasn't. It turned out to be the sweetest, the funniest little dog. It was the best. And that house had such beautiful design. And what I look for, my criteria, like you said, the dates have to work. But for me, when I look at these houses, I look at where. It doesn't have to be the city or the region, but also the design of the house. I am a design. I'm very, very passionate about design. So I love sitting in a beautiful place and taking care of very nice, well-mannered dogs. So Number one is design. Number two is the dog. My husband and I house sit. So we have our account. It's my husband and myself. And right now I'm alone with two medium-sized, some would say large dogs, because my husband had to go out of town. He's going to be back tomorrow. But the dogs, I like dogs. My husband is more of a cat person, but design and the dog, those two have to line up with me. When I look at the pictures, I have to feel myself there. Is this something that you could wake up to every day? Is this the kind and size of dog that you can look after every single day, all day? Because the number one thing here is the pet. The secondary thing is the house. So we are providing a service, and I have to know that I will be more than comfortable. In fact, I just love being in beautiful surroundings. That's something very important to me. But the dog also has to be right. The dog or the cat has to be right. And sometimes in one, we had a dog and a cat. And the cat was a cat from HELL. So my husband took care of that animal, and I took care of the beautiful Australian sheepdog. So design is very, very important to me, and that is my sort of guiding light in house sitting.
Y'all, okay, so Felicia has unfolded something where, you know, you've got your ideal, you know, because you've got to look at those pictures, y'all. You got to look at the pictures. But I think another area for me, and I'm going to ask everybody else to chime in, is, baby, before I even look at the pictures, I look at the responsibilities. Diamond, y'all, if y'all want to get some laughs in, y'all go to Diamond's page, because she be talking about who would do this house sit, baby. You need 4 arms, 12 legs to get it done. So who wants to share their investigation story as they were looking at a house sit and trying to decide if that house sit was right for them? Okay, Ivy, go ahead.
I have a whole separate video on this, my whole strategy, but let me just try to synthesize it as much as possible. I learned, I'm on my 12th house sit now. The thing with trusted house sitters is that people are really nice. They are really reluctant to give negative feedback. So you have to read between the lines. So now I know if someone describes a dog as really affectionate, cuddly, that's a clinger dog, and it's going to cling onto your body and not let you leave the house. So I've now looked for that really coded language. Beyond that, my filters are, I always filter for high-speed Wi-Fi, since I do have some clients, and Trusted House Sitters has that filter. What else? I realized that they recently added accessible to public transit, which I also love. So now I'm also filtering for that, because I have a license, but I've been a city gal for a while. So I haven't driven a car in like 5 years. So I don't want to drive no one else's car, even though that's an option. Definitely read the responsibilities. Speaking of crazy stories, I saw one, I think it was in New York City. So I feel like they were allowed to be extra crazy, but they said that they hand fed their dog raw meat. And that was what they, yeah. Exactly. I was like, nah, I'm good. So I really look for that information. Specific things for me, I filter. I don't like sleeping in the bed with a dog. A lot of dogs are used to that, and they'll sleep with you even though they don't know you like that. So I look for that in the description. If it's not there, I always ask point blank. Yeah. And I do prefer dogs only. I'm allergic to cats, and dogs are the most popular ones. And I've always wanted a dog, and my parents never allowed me. So now I realize being a dog auntie is where it's at, because dogs really require a lot. And I also like to get a sense of how long the dog can be left alone, because I've realized that really varies. I think someone just asked that in the comments. How do you integrate your activities? That's key.
Yes.
So some dogs, I've taken care of dogs that can only be left alone for 2 to 3 hours, some of them up to 8 hours. So a 2 to 3 hour dog is not your vibe if you're in that vacation mode. So it's really important to get all those details on what to expect.
Yeah, you've got to read, and read. Then you have to verify, because I've seen a listing where it says one dog, and then they'll mention a dog and a cat and a hamster. but they didn't put that, you know, in the little they have ways for them the host to indicate what you would be sitting. So read, but also when do you make time to explore the city? So anybody want to share their most recent engagement with either plays or museums or things
So
that
when
they've
I
been able
was,
to engage in? Oh, go
when
ahead.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Hmm.
okay. So when I was in Rabat, when I was in Morocco and I was doing that pet sit, and it was during Ramadan, that was actually, I was fine. I did not feel uncomfortable at all. I did notice some cultural things, but one of the things that I decided to do while I was there was go on a food tour. I went on a walking food tour, and that was a really great experience. It was like myself and this other couple from Brazil that was on the tour, and it was just very insightful. And we went to and just to go into the old Medina deep in there and just be exposed to all these wonderful things that you had, you know, like the whole the cats. I don't know if you guys probably saw that if you ever saw me post about this before. Like the overwhelming amount of cats that are there, and they have like these little sanctuaries, and the thing about the bees that are like flying over all the pastries, and I thought they were flies, but they were bees, and they have like their own little beehives under like within the little kiosk. They're beehives, and they come out and they snack on the actual pastries that you're buying to eat, and yeah, so something that was totally shocking to me. And when in Rome, I got down and I didn't know that they were good. Okay.
Listen, Malika, I think you were saying that you had a a city exploration story to share.
Yes, my most recent house sit was during the 4th of July holiday. So I left the house. Well, first of all, I'm very particular about the house sits that I'm applying for. I want everyone to know if you are picky about anything, you can still house sit. Don't count yourself out. Okay. My very first criteria for search is no pets at all. I have an open alert that lets me know when a new listing comes up with no pets. I see it immediately. My second criteria is dogs only. But even further than that, I will only house sit with one dog, and it has to be a small dog, and it has to be a cute dog. I can't love you if you're not cute. I want to love the
Wow.
dog.
Wow. Ugly dogs need love too, okay?
I was a
Swipe
Maltese.
left on the dogs.
I was
Okay.
a Maltese mom. And Maltese, if you all know anything about that breed, they're regal. That was my princess, that was my baby. So I can love very cute dogs. That reminded me of my old dog. But anyway, I say all that to say the last thing that's priority to me is how long the dog can be left alone. So if it's a dog that cannot be left alone, that has separation anxiety, or they may indicate can only be left alone for 3 hours, that's not a sit for me. Because if I'm traveling and I'm house sitting to use the house sit as accommodations, I don't want to be stuck in the house. So during the 4th of July holiday, I went to 2 cookouts. I also went to see fireworks. And what I did was I made sure that the dog was comfortable before I left. So we did a longer than usual walk. I wanted to make sure he was tired as I don't know what. So we did a longer than usual walk. I gave him lots of love, lots of cuddles. I put his fresh food, his fresh water down, played with him a little bit, and also gave him treats before I left. And then I left. I was gone for about, I think the longest I was gone was maybe 5 hours. And the homeowner did confirm that the dog could be left alone between 5 and 6 hours. So I stayed within her limits. And then when I got back, the very first thing I did was immediately take him out because he did so good. He just slept the whole time. And I immediately took him out. I gave him more love when we got back and gave him more treats and let him know he was a good dog. And he was fine the next day when I left again. So yeah, you can work it in.
Yeah, I'm not gonna forget you, Diamond, because I know you got stories. But Malika, you said something there about the time frame that I've seen recently is that they have a neighbor or something that can sometimes come by or they have someone that regularly walks their dog for them that can come by. So you do, even if you don't see it listed, you can ask during the interview, which is a whole other part that we'll discuss. Go ahead, Diamond.
One of my other sits, the neighbor did help out because I didn't arrive early enough and she didn't want the dog in the home too long by itself. So she took it to the neighbor, and then I went to the neighbor's house and picked the dog up. And then when I left, I had to leave sooner than she was coming back. So I dropped the dog off at the neighbor's house because I had to leave that morning, and that was fine. So yeah, sometimes there are other arrangements that can help too.
All right. That's what I'm talking about.
Diamond, what were you about to say?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Like you, I'm sorry. You said Diamond. Go ahead.
Okay.
No,
you.
No, I was going to broach the subject of sitting with your family, because I've done that. When I first started, and I started domestically, I started with like no more than 2 weeks at a time. And I looked for family friendly sits because I did want to bring my adult daughter and my granddaughter, who now is a seasoned little Doolittle, because of those sits that we've done. So we've done holiday sits, repeat holiday sits for Christmas, Thanksgiving as a family. And as I said in the beginning, I'm currently 6 weeks in Seattle, Washington with my 8-year-old granddaughter. So it is possible for people to sit with their children or their grandchildren if that's something that you want to do, and also extend it out to your immediate family or friends. I've done that as well. So house sitting gives you the flexibility that you need to have a very full and well-rounded lifestyle.
Yeah,
I would
I've
like to
only seen a
piggyback on
few
something.
listed, a few listings where they say, please don't have anyone else. But if you're going, I always say, if you're going to do it, let them know that, because they've probably got their neighbors watching as well. So you don't want to, have questions. Go ahead, Yolanda.
Oh, I was just saying that my middle daughter lives here in San Diego, and so the pet sit, like, she was like, "Oh, let's go do this." But once she got over, and I did talk to the pet owner to say, "Hey, my middle daughter lives here. She's not staying, but she will be coming over from time to time." And she was like, "That's fine, but as long as you let them know." So but once my middle daughter and her best friend came over, and they're like, "Oh, we're not going out. We're just gonna hang out here. We're good." Okay, so but it was something that I was very upfront with the pet owners immediately. It wasn't like a last minute, like, oh yeah, by the way, such and such is coming by. You have to be very upfront about that when you're doing the interview process from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I want to mention, I think it was Diamond that you mentioned the neighbors. My very first sit, and I want everybody who's in the chat to know that you don't have to go outside the country. You can start where you are. You can start locally. It's the best thing. That's how you get those reviews. That's how you get comfortable with sitting in other people's houses and taking care of their dogs, etc. But my very first, or our very first house sit was in the suburbs of Alexandria. I'm based in Virginia, and I love Alexandria. I used to live in Alexandria, and it's this wonderful couple, beautiful home, amazing, very friendly neighborhood. And this was our first time. So I said, hey, before you, once you're accepted for the sit, or even before, the people want to interview you. So you're always going to, have your questions ready. Can I have people over? Can I have my, my family with me? And, those are the questions that you ask before you even accept the sit. But another thing that I had read about, or maybe it was, I think maybe one of Stephanie Perry's videos, was that I let the homeowners know. I said, please let your neighbors and friends know that this Black woman will be coming in and out of the house. Because I don't want any problems. I'm back in the US, and I have to be aware of that. When I'm not, I've been back in the States for about 3 years, but when I'm not in the States, I don't think about those things. I'm just Felicia. I'm an American. I'm doing what I want to do. When I come back to the States, I'm hyper aware of walking through the neighborhood because, you have to put your American hat on. So I said, hey, please let your neighbors know that my husband and myself will be, taking care of the dog, we'll be in the house, etc. And do you know, when we got there to meet them in person, the neighbors came out from across the street. We got a doctor and a scientist across the street next door. Everyone was so wonderful. Even the children looked at, because I'm very tall, they were like, "Oh, what's your name?" And I'm like, my name is Felicia, and this is my husband. And that's very important. I want the neighbors to know. I want your family members to know, because sometimes homeowners, they're in a rush to get you in there taking care of their dog, and they're out, and they don't necessarily tell their neighbors or their friends that, oh, I have people that you have never seen before in my house.
Mhm.
So don't be intimidated by thinking that you have to go abroad and do these things. Start local. And we started locally, and we're still locally. I'm in the mountains. I'm in a beautiful, beautiful space. This is wine country. I have more than enough time to take care of the dogs, but also to explore the area, to meet people. And our next house sit is in London. So that's going to be the first time that, we're, house sitting internationally with this. I've, of course, traveled abroad and all that other stuff, but taking care of people's dogs. I love dogs. And my husband said, well, before we get a dog, I want you to make sure that this is what you want, because, taking care of a dog is a lot of responsibility. I don't have kids. I've never had any kids. So I'm used to just going and doing whatever I want to do. And once you have that dog, you are responsible for their well-being. So don't be intimidated. Start local. You will find the nicest people. And yeah. There
Let's
you
see.
go.
So I want to ask one more question about the. Oh, okay. I will have this question answered, and then ask a question about pets. So go ahead, Felicia. Did you want to answer how difficult? Because I know several of, if not all of you all, have done international house sit. So is it difficult to get an international house sit?
I did not
And
find
what
it.
are the keys? What if each of you could give a key for getting that that international house sit?
I didn't find it difficult at all. It was one of after maybe we sat twice or something, that was the third one. And I think in November will be a year that we've been house sitting with trusted house sitters, and, pretty frequently. So they were one of our first gets. And we've been in contact since then. I love their photos. I love that they were so close to central London, but not necessarily in the center of, because I'm in love with house sits. I don't necessarily have to be, if it's a house sit in Paris and the apartment looks great, then of course I'm going to jump on it and all that good stuff. But this one is a lovely Victorian house, beautiful black lab. And it was easy. I mean, we applied for it. I think they love the fact that we are a couple. Some people feel more comfortable with two people in their house taking care of their animals than single people, but don't let that deter you. It was easy for us to get.
Yeah,
The
what about
one,
you, Yolanda?
so the one that I did in Rabat, literally, I just had the extra ticket because I was supposed to be going to the Exodus Summit. So I had the ticket, and it was non-refundable because it was, I forgot the name of the airline. Y'all know who it is, but anyways, um, and so I was just like, well, I'll just see. I'll just check and see if there's a possible pet sit. And when I saw that there was this one in Rabat, I was like, oh, I might just go ahead and meet the ladies and that are going to be for the Exodus Summit. No, it's like 5 hours away. But it was it was it was actually a pretty easy process. Once I spoke to the gentleman, he was a teacher that was on a private American school in Rabat, and it was actually very easy. And also, just if I actually get a pet sit, like I'm booked up until, like, besides November, I'm pretty much booked up for the rest of the year. But even if I book a pet sit, like I have one that's for a month in December, I literally reach out to them like once a month, once every 6 weeks, just to touch base, just to be like, hey, just make sure we're on the same track. But I just also wanted to say, my daughter who lives in Spain, who, when she realized what I was doing, she got her first pet sit with her husband, an 18-month-old. They live in Spain. They have a month-long pet sit. They just arrived today for a month-long pet sit in London. So she was shocked how fast she got that pet sit. Okay.
Absolutely.
So it's possible.
Well,
Diamond, you wanna share international, because it sounds like you all have had at least some kind of pet sitting experience before getting that international. Did you want to make that distinction for you?
um, that was the case, but let me house sit is a more common phenomenon outside of the United States than it is here in the States. Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah.
Trusted House Sitters is a thank you, is a UK based company, right? So getting sits, I always tell my clients, if you want to stay in the UK, if you want to stay in the London area for as long as your visa will allow you, then you should go to Trusted House Sitters because they're always there. I think there's something like 6,700 worldwide sits available as of this morning or something. And the vast majority of them are located outside the United States. So it is very feasible. I have one client who her first house sit is international without any other, house sitting references other than her external. Her first one was international. So it's quite possible.
Wow. Okay. No excuses, y'all. Let's go. What about you, Malika?
The only thing that I would add is when I was doing my search, I was very particular about where I want to stay. So a lot of my limitations are me. So I'm sharing that because I want to emphasize that if anyone is as particular as me, don't count yourself out. You can still get house sits. I just secured a London house sit too, and I was particular about where I wanted to stay. So I noticed the search criteria, it gives you the option for London City or the greater, broader region of London. I knew I did not want to be on the outskirts. So what I did is I searched and then I went to the map and I stretched the screen and zoomed in, and I only looked at the house sits around London proper because I did not want to be in the suburban areas. So I did have some domestic local reviews already. So I don't know if that's what helped me, but the only thing that took me a long time to find the sit is because I'm very particular. But by the time I found one that I wanted to apply for, I was confirmed immediately after a Zoom call.
Yeah, London, I was just like, they want me to come in the wintertime, baby. I'm not about that life. But I noticed, as a newbie, that thank you, Diamond, for sharing that they are based in the UK. That's why I see so many in the UK. So, all right, Ozzy, come on, give us the best, because you didn't got that the house sit where you are right now. The kitchen is to die for.
I've been waiting for this kitchen for months. I booked this back in February. I'm like, okay, kitchen, it's beautiful, y'all.
Can we see it?
You can check out my live stream. I made
where she made vegan cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, my first live stream. But yeah, the only thing I wanted to add, everyone else covered it, but I actually crunched the numbers. And yeah, London is one of the biggest cities for trusted house sitters, like point blank. Like even compared to the US, the biggest cities have 200, under 300 sits at a time. London has been solidly over 500 sits. So I feel like that location would be easier to get international sit, but there are a lot of other international locations I feel like would be harder just because of the numbers. So go where the big numbers are.
Yeah, and even if it's not house sitter season, if you go to places where house sitting is abundant, then that's definitely another strategy. Okay, I said I had something about pets. I do want to ask this. Has anyone turned down a house sit with a pet that requires medication? Because that's an area where I was just like, I can't give your pet eye drops and other specialty things. Has anyone Is that what's your decisioning
I
about?
won't do injections. I won't do any kind of injections. I just can't do it. I mean, I've had dogs that I've definitely given them, they have like the little pill popper things that you just put it inside the treat and wrap it up and, and they'll just scarf it down. Although I have had some that were really smart. Yeah, that were like, I know what this is. And we'll just spit it out, like eat the meat around it and spit it out. Okay. So, but I don't mind. I haven't had anybody ask about any kind of, I'm not putting anything in anybody's eye. I'm not doing that. I can't even do my own eye. But yeah, injections would be a hard no for me.
Anybody else? Because
I just think that the liability is so
go
high.
ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think the liability for me would be an issue. Trying to give a dog an injection or something like that, a comfort zone, and it's outside of your area of familiarity and expertise, then I would not like to risk it. I don't want to take on that liability. So that's why it would be a hard no for me. And I have passed on sits like that. I also that I went to look at house in person, thinking it would give me a differential advantage, right? I can come and meet with you. When I got there, the house was so nasty.
Oh,
we're about to get right.
Oh,
we're
yeah.
about to get right into that. Cause y'all, I saw a picture that they used as the first picture where one of the pets was on the counter in the kitchen and there was stuff on the floor, on the counters. Like, I was like, when I say you have to be thorough in your review, if they will show you that their house appears in that way, then like Maya Angelou says, if somebody tells you who they are, believe them the first time. So the question that Victoria has is, have any of you women come across houses that are unkept or untidy? If so, what did you do about it? I would add to that, how do you assess that? How do you assess the cleanliness before you get to the house sit? Who wants to take it? Malika, you want to start?
Yes. Okay. So I search for house sits the same way I would an Airbnb. So I feel like the pictures that they put on their profile, that should be putting their best foot forward. And if I don't like your best foot forward, I have very low expectations of what reality is like. The second thing I do is, even if the homeowner does not request a video call, I request a video call.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know about y'all, but when I'm on video with people, I'm looking.
That's right.
And I may say, let's say the dog name is Leo. My last pet sit was Leo. Where is Leo? May I see Leo? So I want to see you pan your phone around to turn to Leo, and I'm looking. And if everything looks the same as what I see online, then I'm good. And so far, I've been very lucky. So I have no experiences to be able to answer that question, but that's like my checks and balances type process for now.
Ozzy, you're nodding. Come on.
Yeah, everything that Malika said was point on. I have an Airbnb mindset. I'm trying to level up here because I think for me, I really thought about with trusted house sitters, since we're not getting paid. I felt like I know this is something people get paid to do. So the value needs to come from having a really quality place. So I really make sure that the host is coming in with that energy, seeing me as a guest, not just someone who is a pet sitter. So just the way they phrase it in their profile, like how they describe, what is it, like home, whatever that category is. If they describe like the streaming services, all these amenities within their house, then I know that they're coming in with that energy. So that's a great sign. Of course, the pictures and having those like really polished looks. A lot of people have just offered to give me video tours of their house without me asking. I always just suggest a video in my initial reach out. So that's been really helpful. And all the places I've been to so far have been just as, if not more beautiful than the pictures, which has been great. But one thing I recently encountered, I don't have a solution to this, but something to keep in mind, you can't tell what the smell is like. So the last place I went to, I came in and it smelled so smoky, and I have like weak lungs. I was like, ugh, I guess I didn't ask if they were smokers. So that's something that I'm definitely going to keep in mind in the future. But I aired out the house and did all these other things, made it work. It was still a really lovely sit, great location. But yeah, I filter out the not good looking places. Like, you need to look like people would pay Airbnb money to live here. That's what I'm going for.
And you said that is the perfect way to look at that, because I told you I love design, so I look at those photos, and I love the tip where you're speaking with the person on FaceTime or whatever, Zoom. Yes, hey, where is little Leo, etc. Or etc. And then you see them pan, and if things look crazy, it's a no, and it's a thank you so much for your time, and then you go to the next. And luckily, knock on wood, I have not had those scary experiences, but when you are looking for those house sits, pay attention to the description, pay attention to those photos. And I also love when I meet with them either in person. Some people would say, for the London one, they want us to come out the day before, just to make sure that we are there. We've gotten to, the neighborhood, and we're going to see, because I like the, in this particular house sit, they said, hey, let's meet. We want to show you the workings of the house, where, where the products are, any cleaning, the dog food, medicines, etc., as well as, just the grounds. They have, beautiful grounds. So I'm like, yeah, I would like to walk with the dogs on the paths here, so the owner says, hey, well, come on around and I'll show you where I would like for you to take the dog and where I don't want you to take the dog. And, these are really helpful things, so that when I get there, I know what's expected of me. I know where I can go, where I can't go. And the homeowners, they're more than happy to do that. But another thing that I love to hear from my homeowners is that, yes, the cleaning service comes every Friday. We love hearing that.
We love it.
We love it so much. When they say the cleaning, and yes, the cleaning service will be here every Friday or whatever day it is, honey, that's when I'm like, sign me up, because I'm not leaving my clean house. Now, I love to travel, as we all love to travel, but I'm not leaving my house, which I find very beautiful, to go in something less than what I'm already living in day to day. I'm doing a service, and I want to do the service because I love animals. I want to help people. They are going to rest assured that my husband and myself, we are taking care of their beautiful home and their lovely pets. But for me, I need to know that I'm going to be comfortable. And one thing that makes me so comfortable is that cleaning service. We love that. And I love seeing them, because I get to disappear for an hour and a half and then come back to a spotless house.
Wow. Diamond, I know you have some tips on this, because you share them in your community.
I absolutely do. And I agree with everything that has been said. It's about being true to yourself. If you would not want to stay there as a paying client, why would you want to stay there and not get paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and particularly being a global nomad, I don't have a home base. So, I'm one of the ladies says she's picky. I'm real picky. Like, I really want a hot tub. When I travel, I really want a bathtub.
She is not lying. She is not lying.
I look, it should be a search feature as far as I'm concerned. I need a hot tub. I need a pool. I need that elevated experience, because, I'm staying, I'm strategic. So I try and stay 30 days or more, when it's just me. So I want to feel as comfortable as possible. And the elevated experience is part of why I do this. I wouldn't stay at Hotel 6 if I were traveling on my own dime. So I'm certainly not going to stay there if I'm, taking care of a pet. So, you have to be selective. And I agree. Ask whether or not, can I see Sparky? Oh yeah, pan around, Sparky. The floor is nasty. It's kind of sketchy for me. So there are ways, subtle ways for you to find out whether or not this is an accommodation that would work for you.
All right, Yolanda, I know you got your twin there with you, so
He's just acting a fool. So I was just gonna say, I got once with a house that was not up to par. Um, the pets, well, that was a whole other challenge at first, but they turned out to be great pets. But it was a two-bedroom home, and the room for the pets was like a big queen size bed for these huge dogs, and they had the cats in there. Well, it was carpeted bedroom. So I go in to their bedroom area, and it just about bowled me over. I was like, oh my gosh, and I was there for a week, and I had to like go through and open windows and all that because she was out of the country. And but yeah, that the room where the pet stayed, it was just she said, oh, I get it cleaned regularly, so you won't be able to smell anything. And I got there, and I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, okay. So that was a lesson learned. But that only happened once. Overall, I've had all great experiences. Now, there was the one situation. There was a beautifully eclectic home. She was like just a very creative home, but she had the wall of masks. Her late husband they traveled the world extensively, and they had this wall of masks. And I have it like on one of my channels, whatever, on one of my videos. It was a wall of masks from all over the world. That's great. But it scared the daylights out of me when I
yes,
walked in because I
yes.
didn't realize it. I was like, whoa, what is this? Yeah, that freaked me out. Yeah. I did want to just go ahead and just add really quick because
Yeah.
you had asked about the birds and who's kept the cats and who's kept the fish. I've also kept uh, turtles. I looked out for two turtles. That was a really cool
Reptiles. That
experience.
is going to be in the
Yes,
reptiles category.
yes. And I did stay in a home with a snake, but the snake I didn't have to do anything with the snake. The snake was safely, and so the snake was great. It was that 70 pound, 5 pound Labrador that drove me crazy, but the snake was awesome. Okay, so I stepped outside my comfort zone on that one. It was I don't know, it, it wasn't a huge snake, but it was big enough. I didn't want to touch it either way, but yeah.
Well, we got some more just logistical questions because this is, I think, when I did the video about if you are an introvert, socially anxious, you have social anxiety. Um, what about how much contact should you have with the owner? So, at least from my experience, you want to have a video conversation. You want them to see you, you want to see them. You should have at least that first one. How often do you all contact? Because right now I'm sending an update like with pictures and hey, if anything's happening, probably about once a week just to give them updates along the way. What do you all use as the contact that helps the homeowners feel confident about, or do your folk tell you, I want to hear from you every other
I
day
asked them.
because I want to talk to Fluffy and so that they remember my voice. So Ozzy, you want to go first?
Yes, I am a big advocate for always asking them because everyone gives such different answers. Some people I've had want 2 to 3 updates a day. Some of them are like, I'm on vacation mode, hit me up every 3 days. So it's always good to ask. And whenever I ask, the owners really appreciate it. And they always tell me about a previous time where they've had a sitter and they were left wondering like, yo, what's up with my dog? And they feel kind of weird because they want you to enjoy your time. So they don't want to disturb you and check, but they're left worried. So definitely always know. It's really based on their temperament, how often you should update them. And you don't really know them that well. So you got to ask.
Anybody else?
I had because one of the questions when I'm interviewing, I always ask them, what was a pro and a con from a previous pet sitting experience? And so I asked that question so I can just get a vibe. And one of the things that this one lady answered, she says that she had a pet sitter who was a wonderful creative who was, I guess, did like a whole bunch of social media and could do video edits. But she was sending these beautifully made creative videos of her pet every single day. And she was like, that was too much. Okay. She was like, it was like a whole presentation. Okay. And she was like, no, please don't do that. Just send me a couple. So these are the kind of questions that, that was the last thing I thought she would say. She's like, I don't want the movie production of my dog every day.
That's a
Good
very
to
good point.
ask.
Yeah, I love
Anybody
sending
else?
pictures. Either once a day, just a picture of the dog, sort of just laying down, looking at Netflix with me, or my husband likes to throw the ball to the dog, and so I'll just shoot. He doesn't even know I'm doing. I'm sitting in the office, and they were out, and I said, "Oh, let me just do a video," and it was like very almost artistic, and she was like, "Oh my God, that's really cool," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. I'm working on some stuff." But that's a very good point, Ozzy, that you said that some people are just like, hey, I'm on vacation. If it's not an emergency, it's good. Just let me know when something pops up. If not, I'll see you when I get back. And that's it.
All right. Anybody else wanna tap this one? Because the contact can feel overwhelming to those of us who consider ourselves introverts. So you kind of have to, kind of get into a space of what do you expect and can I meet that? Because when I say contact, so I'm talking about come in the day before, come stay at the house. We're going to go to dinner. We're going to go on a walk. I want you to go on a walk with me with the dog. I want to stay up late and have a drink with you. I was hoping Diamond was going to talk about, I didn't ask for a roommate. So I'm just teeing her up
Wow.
to share that you can set the tone for that level of interaction when you're on the ground.
Absolutely. It really is simply being transparent. I mean, you're a mature adult, they're a mature adult. Everyone has their own idiosyncrasies, nuances, right? So you got to come at it with mutual respect. I'm extroverted, so I don't have a problem. Like, I prefer to come in a day before and get the lay of the land. I prefer a very warm handoff so that they know that I've had the opportunity to engage positively with their pet while they're still there. They can witness it. That may decrease the amount of communication that they want during the course of the sit because they see that you already have, a certain relationship or rapport with the animal. But getting back to the point of maybe you don't want to socialize with them, right? It's okay to say, I prefer not to, or not this time, or, it's been a really long travel day for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate your graciousness. And just, say no, thank you. Thank you, but no, thank you. So again, it's about being transparent. It has to work for both parties. And I don't have a problem speaking up about it.
That's it. You are providing a service, just like,
Yes.
You might want a wedding cake, but what I advertise is pecan pies. So that's what I got for you. And so I think it's understanding that you set the structure, that there are expectations. So you have to make sure that it is a good match. But I think you were saying that you came in the day before and then the lady wanted, she stayed the next day and then you were
Oh
just
my
like,
God. That was my sit in
Mhm.
Portugal. I came in the day early just to get the lay of the land, like I said earlier. And then she said, oh, well, I have so many specific things about my house. I asked you to come in a day early, but I'm going to be here 2 more days. And I'm like, now, wait a minute, sis. We didn't, this was not agreed upon. I'm not looking for no roommate. I don't want to know you like that. So it was very challenging. I went out to dinner with her the first night, and she had a very eco-sensitive home in Portugal. So there were a lot of things that I needed to go over, but I didn't come to be your friend. We're not roommates. So that's when, I appreciate your graciousness. However, That was not part of my plan. I do have some other things that I need to take care of during this time frame. So you'll excuse me if I go to my quarters, go to my accommodations. So yeah, that was the most challenging sit that I had to date, and that was in Portugal.
So I want, I love the balance that you all are giving, because, we just hear beautiful accommodations and, kind of understanding all the other things. Has anyone had a pet that did not like them? This is my fear. Or
I
like
have.
you so much that they didn't want you to leave.
Well, yeah.
Okay, okay. Felicia, why don't you kick it off?
Well, one of it was a beautiful, famous architect designed this house, wonderful house, private, all that good stuff. Beautiful dog. The dog was very clingy, but I loved it because I like, getting all cuddly with the dog. It was beautiful Australian sheepdog. But the cat was, and now they said, they did preface it, our cat is difficult. You won't ever have to, just feed him. I'm gonna show you how to feed the cat. Da da da. This cat, as soon as we walked in the door, the cat is hissing at me and my husband. And my husband has more experience with cats, so he's like, I can take care of the cat. You take care of the dog. I said, okay, yeah, say less, because that's what it was going to be. And I had to be alone with the cat and dog one afternoon, and I said, okay, well, I'm just going to feed you right now. And they told me to feed the cat in the basement because that's what, that's the protocol. I'm grabbing the can of food, and I'm opening the can, pulling the little thing back. And before I could put it down and put it in its little bowl, the cat swiped me not on my hand, on my leg. And I said, I dropped the can of food. I was just like, you know what? You got it. You're going to have to, put your little paws in the can of food and get it yourself, because I'm done. I flew upstairs and I said, yeah, I'll be upstairs in the guest quarters, because they had it set up where it was like a hotel for the guests. It was a huge house. And so I said, well, it's going to be me and the dog, and we're going to have a good time. And that cat can have the run of the house until my husband gets back. So that was that. My very first house sit, they have requested us several times, and we've, several times house sat for this couple. It's sad for me, and that's actually my last video about house sitting on my channel. Sometimes it's sad to say goodbye, and it's a brown Labrador, and I love this dog. I am in love with this dog. And I was sad. So I did, it was the fireplace. I put the fire on, they had this beautiful sort of electric fireplace with the flames. It was amazing. And we just had a moment, and I said, oh my God, I'm going to miss you. And I got sad. I said, well, I got to do a video now, because sometimes it is sad to say goodbye. And that very same person 2 days ago just put, and if anyone's interested, I think it's only for 4 days in their beautiful house in Alexandria. They contacted me and says, can you do this? I said, no, I'm going to be out of the country. But that dog, whoever sits for this couple, that dog is a love. Oh. That's my story.
Oh, wow. Okay, Ozzy, you had your hand up. Y'all making me.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not pining for pets, but that's beautiful.
Yeah, that was so sweet. Now I need to translate from the cute dog to the dog that didn't like. One of my first sits, actually, the dog, oh my gosh, that's when I learned I needed to read between the lines with these sits, because no offense, Malika, but this was a multi-poo. I'm sorry, but that was the worst dog. Oh my gosh. When I arrived, the dog just latched onto my leg, humping me compulsively for like over an hour. And the owner was like, oh, he'll calm down, peace, and just like left. I was like, yo, for real? And she gave him a bunch of CBD treats, melatonin, all these like sedative treats. And I was like, I've never seen a dog have so many anti-anxiety treats, and all the treats had something laced in them. And she only left me a couple of them for like a 3-week sit. So I was like, oh, I gotta ration this for the next 3 weeks. So that dog was so whiny, so clingy. It was defecating, vomiting, everything in the house because it was anxious. I didn't know the dog was anxious until I arrived, and then she mentioned all these anxiety issues. I was like, why? I asked you about behavioral issues, so now I asked about behavior and anxiety separately, and that's another thing with trusted house sitters. When you think about it, it will attract pets that have anxiety because the benefit to the owner is that the pet is not being displaced in a new location. So a lot of people with anxious pets who they want to minimize the change for will go to trusted house sitters. So be prepared for that. But yeah, that dog really got me questioning if I even liked dogs. Luckily, I had other sits that turned it around for me, but that dog, oh, my sister wouldn't even talk on the phone with me because the dog would just whine the whole time, and she's like, I can't handle the sound. I'll talk to you later. Yeah.
That is really, really
Asking
good
the right
that
questions.
yeah. Is has this pet had the experience of being cared for in their home by someone else, or is this their first experience? That's a question that I ask all the time. And then levels of anxiety. I had a sit, and it was not through Trusted House Sitters because I do have a separate business, but I was in Mexico for 45 days, and I kind of knew this dog, but he was a rescue. So you really don't know the backstory a lot of times with rescue animals. And he had the most tremendous anxiety the first week that his pet parents were gone, to the point that he was like scratching himself to bleeding. I had to take him to the vet, and give him some anti-anxiety medication. It was simply because this was the first time that they had been gone for more than 3 days at a time. So these are some of the things that are lessons learned, and that you should ask up front, because that shows, first of all, the pet parent that you really care and that you know what you're doing. But anxiety can be a killer. It can kill your whole pet sitting vibe if you don't handle it correctly.
Yep. Yeah. Malika, did you have anything? I wasn't sure if you wanted to add to that because
Yeah. I had an experience where I did not want to leave the dog, and it was mutual. So I'm new to house sitting, and I've gone into this thinking I'm not a dog person. And it wasn't until I met this dog. And it it was weird and surprising and unexpected the way we kind of bonded. And I told the homeowner, I said, this dog is half human. Like we would literally have full-blown conversations. I posted a video in one of Diamond's group. I said, we understand each other. Like it was crazy, the connection we had. And when it was time for me to go, I didn't leave till later that afternoon, but he knew I was leaving that day. And he literally followed. And this was not anxiety. The dog did not have anxiety. In fact, he was so lazy, he slept most of the day. But on the day I was leaving, he literally followed me around the entire house. And it was a 3-story townhouse. If I went upstairs, he was on my heels. He would go upstairs. I would come downstairs. He would come down, and he followed me so closely, I almost stepped on him. I didn't realize he was that close. And I'm like, wow, he knows I'm leaving today. And I didn't want to leave either. And I'm like, this is my little buddy. Diamond, you remember? I was like so smitten with this dog.
I
And it was
do.
unexpected.
Yeah.
And when I took a little video to tell him goodbye when I was getting ready to leave, and I asked him to smile for me. I am not making this up. This is the truth.
Nope.
I have picture evidence in Diamond's group. I asked him to smile for me, and he tilted his head like he didn't understand. So I said, say cheese, say cheese. And I demonstrated a smile. The dog smiled.
She is not exactly. Y'all
The
go to the
funniest
group,
thing in
Sisters
the
Who Sit,
world.
and check out
I
the
got
video.
video, I got pictures. I sent it to the owner, and she laughed so hard. She said, you have to come back. He loves you. And As I'm leaving, she's texting me, will you be available in September? Will you be available in November? She's planning her trips. But I'm not going to be available. I'll be abroad somewhere. This is a local sit in the US. And I'm like, I guess I really do like dogs.
One tip I got from, I think it was maybe the second to the last house sitting video Stephanie Perry did. She said when she leaves a note. So I'm trying to get what is my signature thing to do, or series of things I could do to really embellish and say, I am your house sitter. Make sure you reach out and let me know when you have another opportunity, and I'll see if it fits in my schedule. That's what I'd like to hear is, so you have a 1 day or a 5-month house sit, you have done the things, kept your host, as little or as much, communication with them about how things are doing. You are transitioning out. What is your signature thing to do to put the the dot on the I, or to cross that T, that so that the owners know that you are their house sitter, especially if you want to come back. Especially if you want to come back. So why don't we start with Yolanda, and then we'll work our way around.
So a couple of things that I do. One is um, I always let them know, especially if it's the first time, that before we do our reviews online, that I would like to have a meeting with them afterwards to see like what were their thoughts, how did they feel about the sit, was there any issues or concerns. So I do like a whole review afterwards before we actually post the reviews online via Trusted House Sitters. That seems to really impress them. I'm gonna wait. I know that maybe you get back on Saturday, so I'll probably reach out to you Monday or Tuesday, just give you time to regroup and get yourself situated back at home. I also will let them know ahead of time. I don't want to be at home when you get back, because I want you to come home to your home and just be able to relax and not worry about somebody staring you in your face. Saying, okay, I'm gonna leave in a few hours. Yeah, so I always I keep a spreadsheet, because I do this full time. I keep a spreadsheet that has all the details, like when they not only when their flight gets in, and when their flight leaves, and when it gets in, like what time do I need to get there, whether it's the day before, or how early can I leave the day that you're actually coming back, so I can make sure that I'm timing it just right. And I ask them those questions, and they seem very pleased with that.
All right. Felicia?
I like to leave the house. I'm a neat freak, even in my own house. I mean, even before I go on a sit, before I go, if I know I'm going to leave my house for any extended period of time, I think most people do this. I clean that house from top to bottom, because when I come home, I want to just put my dirty clothes or whatever and put them in the wash. That's all I want to do. And we go upstairs and we're in our home again. So I do the same thing, even with the cleaning services. Maybe 2 or 3 haven't had cleaning services, but I take pride in leaving a house better than I found it. And I think that after, we all know when we get back from whatever trip, international, national, local, whatever, we love coming home to a clean, inviting house. So, we might get some bouquet of flowers to put in the kitchen. But that very first house that I even met their housekeeper. But one of the reviews, I said, it was such an amazing house that, and they said, oh my God, we know that Bella, the dog's name is Bella, the one that I was sad to leave, and that I'm so in love with. We know that Bella misses you. And let me tell you, you cleaned our house it's cleaner than the cleaning service. And I said, I know that's right, because I like to clean. I like things nice and clean and nice and fresh. So I think someone in the comments, they said that, they launder the sheets. I like doing that because I come back to clean sheets. I do the laundry before we leave our house. And I just like to treat the house that I'm sitting in as if it were my house. So things remain tidy. But let's say, for this particular sit that I'm on now, this is a month-long sit. I'm comfortable in this house, but it's never going to be a mess. And if we happen to leave before the house, the cleaning service gets here, it's going to be nice and clean and neat. And that's something that the homeowners, they notice. They notice it and they appreciate. They say that, oh my God, thank you so much for, after our 10 days in London, I didn't even expect the house to be this clean. I did the floors because after I was like, well, wait a minute, the floors don't look as sparkly. So let me just do the floors. And people notice those things. So guess who's coming back to those houses? They have my number and they text me, hey, are you going to be available before they even post it on the house sitting site? And I take pride in that. And I think all of you do that as well. And I think it's a really great thing to do. Just leave that house nice and tidy, because when they get home, they want to just be with their pet again, and they want to relax after their travels.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ozzy, what's your signature?
Yes. So it's definitely everything that everyone said before me about making sure it's clean, of course. But I really think when it comes to getting a good review, it starts from like every interaction. It never comes down to that final day. But one thing I do that's my personal touch, I have this old Polaroid camera. So I take a picture of their pet and I leave a handwritten note and kind of say like, thank you, hope you had a good trip. And they really like that. But yeah, those for me, it's a little tricky because sometimes I leave really early in the morning, so I can't always do the same level of cleanliness that I can do compared to if I leave in the afternoon. But it's really helpful that I always ask for a welcome guide. So usually they'll delineate what they expect from their cleanup. Some people are like, oh, just like strip the bed. So I at least try to do that. If I have more time, I'll go even above that, but I at least try to get where their expectations are, because I also don't want to assume I know if I'm using the guest sheets or if those are their main sheets. And I want it to be clear that it's already clean. So I don't always make the bed unless I'm going to overlap with them. Then I'll let them know like, hey, I know you had a long flight, so I made your bed so you could sleep. So yeah, it's all about the communication.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Malika?
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm, again, fairly new to house sitting, so I don't have a signature process yet. But for my last few house sits, I've kind of done the same thing. I always wrap up the final day with a text to the homeowner, and I outline like a list of things. I will always say what the pet has done that day, like if he's already been on a walk, if he ate his breakfast, how many snacks I have given him, and to give the homeowner assurance that your pet is fine, he's safe, he's comfortable. So you can take your time coming back. I do clean the house. I am a stickler for cleanliness, so I will never stay in a house that isn't clean. So I pride myself in delivering the house back in the same condition that I received it. I do not do the laundry, but I do strip the sheets and the pillowcases off the bed, and I will include that in my list, and I will put them in the wash. One of the house sitters, she didn't want me to do the laundry because she was very particular about how she does her laundry and how much detergent she uses and things like that. Completely respect that. But I think about if someone was in my house, how I would want them to leave my house. So I do the same thing for the homeowners. And I think it's a good thing to strip the bed at minimum. That way they're not having to touch the sheets and the pillowcases that I slept on, and it's already in the wash. So all they have to do is start it when they're ready. And because of my personal signature that I use everywhere, even online, if you follow me on any social media platforms, I use the pink heart emoji with the little yellow dots on it. So when I sign off on the text, I always say, have a safe trip home. And I leave that little pink heart. But I use that as my closing when I'm communicating with anybody on text. So I didn't really consider that like part of my signature, but I guess it is. And all the homeowners, they usually do a heart of my text message, and they say thank you, and whatever response they have. But so far, that's kind of how I do it, like a wrap up with a summary list of what they can expect when they get home.
Excellent. Excellent. Y'all are giving me some tips. I'm taking notes. All right, Diamond, coach us on this, because this is, like I agree with Ozzy. You're creating this relationship along the way, but there is something about the lasting impression. What is the lasting impression? How do you coach around that? And then what's your thing?
Well, I agree with all the best practices that I've heard from these professionals this evening, 100%. The thing that I do is definitely leave a note. It has to be handwritten, hand signed, and generally it's some sort of a card of gratitude. And I have my granddaughter do the same thing when she's with me. So we all leave our own special thank you, because her experience is completely different than mine, right? So the level of engagement means a lot to that homeowner. When I'm sitting for 30 or more days, because they always, I think it was only one time that I didn't get asked, what could I put in the refrigerator or the pantry for you? I always offer. I have not had anyone say, oh, could you go get me a rotisserie chicken? But if they want a rotisserie chicken when they come home, I have offered to go to the market and put something in there. If they're coming in very early in the morning, have something that they want to eat for breakfast. So I always extend that. I've never had anyone take me up on it, but they have all been very, very happy that I at least considered it. So those are the things, in addition to all the things that, like I said, these professionals have said tonight. It all makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm so proud to see Black women in this space, that we are leveraging our lived experiences. We are leveraging the quality that we bring professionally. We're bringing that to the house sitting space also, and that it's making a difference in our lives. It's making a difference in our access, that it is not a hindrance. My mother, I don't know about anybody else, but my mom was like, well, the guy got the police called on him because he was watering the plants because somebody asked them to come. I mean, like, she was really fearful for me to do this house sit, even though I had the permissions. And to see us say, look, we know the cultural issues that exist here in the States, but I can take care of myself. I can build a secure process around me that helps me to be safe. I know where the police station is. I know where the fire station is. Baby, I'm going to introduce myself to the neighbors, even if my host does not, because we're thinking about those issues. Somebody had a question. I'm going up here. Okay. She has asked, this is another pet question before we sign out. Is this specific to just how to identify the right pets? So is there a right pet? Because I'm going to add to this, because I wanted to ask this. I think I asked it and Stephanie didn't get to it. Like, if you're not a pet person, can you become one? And I'm going to say this, this is another plug for my favorite pet sitter, 7-year-old pet sitter, who taught me a thing or two about how to introduce myself to a cat. So can you, ma'am, if y'all have not seen that, please go to Diamond's page so that you can be taught by a 7-year-old how to approach a cat respectfully. So can you become a pet person? Can you identify the pet that is right for you? Anybody have any advice about that? All right, Ozzy.
Oh, of course, the second I mute, I think it depends. She just spotted. She's defending the territory. I think it really depends on why you're not a pet person. So a big thing for me is I don't really love shedding. I don't want to get it all stuck in my lock. So I love getting hypoallergenic pets to take care of that don't really shed. So if you understand why specifically you're not a pet person, you can probably navigate around it. Maybe you go towards more low maintenance pets. Like I know some people who only do cat sits because they're a lot more independent and they can leave the house for longer. They don't really require as much attention in a lot of cases. Dog and cat sits are the most common, but like Dee said at the beginning, there's also fish and horse, but most of them are like combinations. If you get a fish, you probably have a dog too, because someone can just bring a fish to someone else's house. They don't really need a whole other person in their house for that. But yeah, just understand the why. And like Malika said, we can be picky here because there's so many options, over 6,000. So we can always find the right fit.
Oh, I like that perspective. Yeah, understand why aren't you a pet person? Yeah, what are the reasons? That's a really great take on that.
Anybody else?
Well, yeah,
I will say this.
Let's see. Go ahead,
No,
Yolanda.
go ahead.
Then I'm going to have Diamond go.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just gonna say I am very. I didn't even realize that because I was like, I don't really know what they mean. But then I was like, wow, okay. I tend not to pet sit dogs with really long hair. I didn't even notice that until I just. It was like I guess something in the back of my brain was like, nope, you probably had. I think I've had one pet sit where the dog was like a really like, oh, that dog felt so good though. But I don't. I'm just very aware, like you said, you don't want them to maybe sleep. I don't want them to sleep in the bed with me, and that's a discussion. Also, I want to be able to get on the couch or sit down on the couch and not stand up to a back full of fur. Just so I'm very aware of that. I would say maybe not so much of not maybe not so much of finding the right pet, making sure that the pet owner is right, and that you because the wrong pet owner can totally ruin that the whole situation. If yeah, if they don't respect the boundaries that's needed between with their pet, and just plan to just let them run wild, that can just totally wreck your entire experience. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So,
Yeah. Anybody else have tips? Because I'm taking notes, like I said. All
Well,
right.
yeah,
Well, go
you're
ahead.
watching.
Yeah.
You look at the photographs, right? And so I try to find quirky photographs that will give you an indication whether or not this is a good sit for you. I posted one in my group and the cat literally was at the dining room table, like to be served. There was a plate in front of the cat. That's a no for me. If they post a picture and their cat is in the kitchen on the countertop, that's a no for me. That's a habit that I am not going to be able to correct to my comfort level in the time that I'm with the pet, right? So it's more trouble than it's worth. Um, if you have, they put up a picture and the dog is on their pillow in their bed, that's a really good indication that that's how that dog likes to engage. So I think we just have to really use our intuition and detective skills a little bit when we're looking at these photographs that they put up because they're posting their pet in their best environment, so pay attention to what you see.
Mm-hmm. Well, y'all, I'm so excited to see us. Um, I got to get out to the West Coast because I want some of that from the balcony looking at the beach that Yolanda has. I Diamond posted she was in the jacuzzi, and I was like, we got a jacuzzi, but I don't know. And baby girl was in I was like, I'm in. I took the picture, sent it. I said, I'm in here too, baby.
Right.
So get out there, experience it, get on the trails, walk the neighborhoods. Y'all, this is an opportunity if you are trying to figure out where you might want to live. When you're moving abroad, house sitting is excellent. It's like, you're right in the community. You're doing the things without all of the accommodations costs. it's interesting to see when you have a pet, how many other people are nice, approach you, will talk,
Yeah.
will talk to you, where you could ask questions about, what about the neighborhood? What about the transportation? What about whatever's going on in the community? You can learn so much through this experience. It can definitely open doors. So I want to say thank you to everybody that's in the chat. I'm gonna tell you who's making the biggest sacrifice right now is Sandra from Lack to Legacy, because baby, she's in Bali. No, she's in Thailand now. And I know
Oh,
she got on here at almost, I guess it had to be like 6:30 a.m. So I want to say thank you to Sandra.
wow.
Keep healing, sis, is in the chat. Disney Girl Tinkerbell, thank you. Long-winded short story, thank you. Oh, transition to tech. Yes, sister, we know who you are. Sabangale, you in the chat acting up, but I thank you for joining us today. Y'all, Kelly knows Tampa Bay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Melanie Burnett, thank you. Bonnet, thank you so much. Y'all, and H is in the comments. So I want to say thank you to everybody that joined us today. Sustainable Steph 2258. Thank you guys so much. The questions were helpful because you can do this.
Yes.
You can do this.
Yes.
It's not going to be all roses. You may make some mistakes. You may have to tweak your profile, because at the last minute I realized I might need to say I have asthma, so that people know when I'm asking you about smoking, it is not a judgment. It is literally for my health and well-being. So
Yeah.
put your stuff out there, what you need. I promise you, there is a house sit that's a pet sit that is right for you. Multiple tries. Y'all get out there. Don't find your ideal and then sit there and wait. Keep looking.
Right.
Set those notifications. Any other tips to make it how you're making it work for you, Malika?
Yes. Y'all know I'm a financial person, so I got to talk about the money side. I see a lot of questions in Diamond's group about which membership did you get? There are 3 levels of membership, and of course, the most basic is the cheapest. I chose premium because I wanted the liability insurance coverage and I wanted the cancellation insurance coverage. It's $260, I believe. Do not let that deter you. When you think about it, when you're traveling and you get an Airbnb or hotel, let's say you take a vacation that's usually 5 to 7 days, that $260 membership for the entire year, you've gotten your money back in one trip.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
imagine you do multiple house sits throughout the year. It's paid
Right.
for itself, and
Yeah.
you're getting the best coverage with the best membership that's available. So don't let the 260 deter you. If you are a traveler, it's going to pay for itself in your first trip.
I agree. I agree 100%. I just wanted to piggyback on that. I didn't say anything in the group simply because I knew we were getting on this live tonight. But I want to encourage everyone to read the fine print that goes along with that cancellation and liability. It is not simply, oh, somebody canceled, so now we're going to put you up in a hotel. It does not work like that. And there is an out of pocket reimbursement approval process that has to be done. So it is not as automatic as it sounds. It's fantastic protection. I agree 100% and more than worth the money, particularly when you start traveling internationally. However, there are caveats that we all need to be aware of, because I don't want somebody to get out there and think that it's an automatic, oh, I'm canceled, you're going to put me in a hotel. It's just not that simple. So please read the fine print with every contract that you enter into, right? This is absolutely no different. And these are some of the things that you can also work into your personal contracts when you start to monetize house sitting for yourself, which is also a thing.
That part. Um, I I chose not to get the highest level until we start abroad because I think that has a bigger impact on.
Yes.
I didn't bought a ticket. I've, all of those things, and I wanted to make sure that I brought this into the conversation because, I'm thinking I'm paying for my travel to the location if it's international, and also my transportation to wherever that person is located. If they cancel, then I need to have some kind of backup money that I'm ready to take care of myself. But also, that can be it is through reimbursement.
Yes.
Somebody had a question. I did not want to leave this one unsaid because timing is also really important because they will list stuff in London as a last minute for next week. So,
Yeah.
what's the process of purchasing travel to and from house sits? Do we wait to get chosen to identify flights? What if it's not affordable by the time we get chosen? Getting there is my responsibility. So what have you all, what criteria have you all used for the timing of your tickets and accepting your house sit?
I believe that you have to be strategic in whatever it is that you're doing. If I will use myself as a for instance, I knew I wanted to spend no less than 90 to 120 days in the EU. So once I secured my first sit, it is very affordable and very easy to then build a sit strategy around your initial acceptance. And it's very cost effective once you get into a different country to fly to adjoining areas. Very, very affordable. So it's about having a strategy that works for you. Build a sit strategy in advance and work your strategy. And that's what I do as part of my service. But it's paramount. Otherwise, you're spending a whole lot of money going a whole lot of different places. You have to maximize that travel dollar.
Yeah. So
So when I was
you're thinking not just about the travel. If you need visas, you got to get that stuff in place and give yourself plenty of time. So if somebody may raise their hand and accept you, but can you jump through the hoops necessary to do the sit?
Right.
Who was
Right.
commenting?
oh,
Yolanda, was that you? Okay,
yes,
go
that was
ahead.
me. That was me. Okay.
Okay.
So two things. One is when I did the pet sit in Rabat, and when I was planning on going to the Exodus Summit, I was already going to be in Spain. So the ticket from Madrid to Morocco, that was like $150. It was like a
Yep.
45-minute flight. So yeah, I was good to go. So that's why I was like, well, I'm going to be in Spain anyways. I could have just lost the money for that ticket to Morocco, but I was like, well, you're going to be in Spain anyways. Just go ahead and find a pet sit and let's see how it goes and get that experience. Yes. I did want to just go ahead and show. I was showing Felicia. I've taken my pet sitting to the next level. So, because when I was in that high rise in Dallas for the 24-hour pet sit, and I was like, I want to live here. I want to just do all the pet sits here and stuff. So I went and got some cards made. So it has like located coach, the traveling pet sitter. That's my emblem for my YouTube channel too. And then I figured out how to create QR codes. So one is to book me, and the other one is if you just want to join. So I get my little 2 months free for everybody that joins. So if I'm talking, I'm networking, whatever, just random conversations or whatever. It's like, oh yes, this is what I do, and I also have the QR codes on my phone, so I don't have to actually have the card on me, and they just have to like click it and go straight there.
Let me tell you, you blew my. This is before we even went live. I was like, what? So yeah, thank you for that.
Yolanda, what's the second QR code for? One is to join Trusted House Sitters.
One is if you want to book me, and then the other one is if you want to join. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, you can do the card where it's just one QR code, but I just said, well, I'm just going to put both of them. But I created this on Canva.
Nice.
I created it on Canva.
You definitely have to find a way to make it work for you, whether you're going to monetize it or whether you're going to be the sitter of choice. If you find that you want to be in Panama City, you better work Panama City. while you're there. And that's what I'm hearing Yolanda say. I love this place in Dallas. I'm going to make this work for me. I could see myself
Yes,
here. So yeah, yeah. Like I said, be strategic about what you're doing.
And you can
very
build
much
those
so.
house sits to stay. So once we flew from Morocco to Spain, I was just like, we could go to Portugal, we could go to France. I mean, like, boom, it just opened my eyes. Y'all, there's a whole world out here. I knew we could not cover everything, but y'all have made this fun. We have shared laughter, we have shared horror stories. I didn't even get a chance to tell y'all about the bear.
Lord.
So
Everybody's face just changing everybody's face just now.
I have another 10 minutes. I would like to hear the bear story if it's okay. Please.
so so I am in a nature, oriented place near Garden of the Gods. So my pet, the host said you can see a bear in the neighborhood. So I was aware. So Saturday morning, I normally get up and take my morning walk. I decided not to. I was opening the blinds because that's what I do as part of, just I love the sunshine. And I look out the window and there's the bear. The bear, it's not a cub, but it's not an adult bear, has climbed up on the bird's feeder and pushed it to the ground to eat out of the bird feeder. Okay, so I'm literally, y'all, I'm on video. I'm like, I cannot believe this outside my window. So I wait till the bear leaves so that I can do my watering of the plants in the lawn. I'm walking to the store. I am a huge walker. I love to walk everywhere. It's how I get to know a community. It's slow enough for me to really see things and pay attention. And I'm walking down the street and there's a fawn in the front yard of my neighbor eating. Lifts his head up. Hey baby, how you doing? Gives me a nod and carries on about it. I walked and I was like, man, that's really interesting. I walked down the street. There's another one. Y'all, turkeys. I'm telling you, you got it. You have to be ready. But
Right.
I was thankful that my host at least warned me, because I would have been packing some bags. If I
See, my
had,
snake ain't got nothing on your bear. Yeah, snake. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
So I
snake.
was just, you want to ask when somebody asks, what are the important questions to ask? We've definitely shared those. Anything that might be unexpected, you know, you can't. What I want people to understand is you can't ask all the right questions. You can't ask all the questions because you don't want to be that person, but you want to ask the questions that are really going to make the difference between you having a successful sit and one that leaves you or the host disappointed with
Right.
the experience. So, y'all, blessings. We
Yeah.
are all sharing our photos, our videos, our funny outtakes. Um, these ladies have their channels. Please, in my travels, locating cozy, the gallivanting grandma, the money coach Malika, and at AMAZZI.NG1. Ozzy is out here in these IG social media streets. We are
Love it.
sharing the tea about all of it. Ask your questions. We're going to do this again because we're going to, I want
Definitely.
to, we're going to be doing one about couples house sitting as well. Um, this is for you. I'm so thankful. Thank you, Felicia. Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you, Diamond. Thank you, Malika. Thank you, Ozzy. And thank you, everyone, for sharing this journey with us. We're H&D Abroad. Please subscribe to this channel, like and share this video. Let's get out there.
Let's
Let's
do it.
embrace life because life is about living. Bye for now, y'all.
All right.
Thank
Take
Ladies,
care.
stay
Thank
behind.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.